you look around the league, there's a lot of teams, in the hunt. We're in the hunt. You sit here and you say, hey, Thanksgiving, and close to the end of November, and we're in the hunt. When you sit around that table tomorrow, you're saying we're in the hunt. And there's a lot of teams that wish they were in the hunt. Well, we're in the hunt.
You walk into a room full of people and you slip and you break your leg and you visibly shit your pants in front of everyone. The good news is that if you live through that, you'll never do that again. Like, it'll never be that bad again. This is all I can offer you. This is the only positive thing I'm going to say about the Bills team. They fell and shit their pants all over everyone, but for some reason, the world is still going on and they get to play next week, and we should just go to trivia. It's the In the Hunt cast. I'm Greg Bauk. Kyle Turner's here. Brad Riter is filling in for Sean Murphy, former WGR and WAC and West Seneca basketball star, joining us. Brad, say hi to everyone.
Hey, what's up, man? How are you? How's everyone? Is everyone good?
Terrible. Did you see the game?
Yeah, I did. I liked it. You didn't like it? You don't like playoff wins?
No. Not on this pod, Brad. You've been on too many good pods.
I don't know, man. It didn't feel great. There was like a few moments at the end where I was sweating, but I kind of this whole year have gone with nothing matters until the Super Bowl. And I guess that means the playoffs matter too, because you got to get through them. But like the survive and advance thing is totally legit to me. And it wasn't until it was a 3 or 4 point game with a couple minutes left where one fluke play could kill them. They're such the better team in that game that I never got super scared. I mean, it wasn't comfortable. I wasn't dancing. At first I was at 17-0. I think that's when they started dancing a little bit mentally and forgot where they were. But I mean, they trailed by 3 for a couple minutes there. I know you spent 4 hours scared watching the Bills game.
4 hours. That was a 5.5-hour game.
They trailed by 3 for a couple minutes. Other than that, they led the whole time. So I don't know. I feel all right.
I would say I was not worried. Like, I did not think they were going to lose it until like the fourth, when it just seemed like everything's going wrong. So I wasn't like I had the anxiety that I had the other 2 Miami games. It was just fucking like, all I can think of is like the week of reading things and how that was going to make me sad.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was sure that I wasn't watching any more football the rest of this weekend if things didn't shape up pretty quickly. But I don't know. The way Romo just kept saying, like, the season can't end like this, right? And I was like, right, Tony, that's right. And then he'd go, or can it? And then I'd be like, wrong, Tony, wrong. But I don't know, man. That was not ideal, the way things went there for a good chunk of the game, but I don't know. I think they'll be fine.
Yeah.
Like you said, it happened once. The next couple games are going to be bigger and better and tougher opponents and more real to me.
The Bills, I said this last week, the Bills never let me be right. I have said before, like, they clearly played like shit for stretches, not bad, complete shit for stretches of this game. And they still somehow put up 34 fucking points. So I look dumb when I complain. And then Greg sits here every week and I go, man, they did not look good this game. And Greg goes, you're a fucking idiot. They put up 34 points. And I go, but did it look great? I want it to be, I've said before, that time in between scoring drives can also look good without being a scoring drive. I just get nervous that they're going to get blown out by a good team. And when they play that shit for stretches of game, I'm sorry I exist, man. I try. I just want to be happy.
No, that's not allowed.
What were the stretches that you hated so much? Because I didn't like when a ball got overthrown and intercepted, and then it was like a really good return on that. And I didn't like when Beasley bobbled the ball and it got picked off, and there was a really good return on that. And I didn't like when the kickoff went out of bounds and they started at the 40-yard line. Aside from those 3 things, where was they played like shit thing?
When the quarterback got roller derby lassoed backwards toward his own end zone, gave the other team a ball and gave a touchdown. I didn't like that.
At the half.
I didn't like that. Yeah, like a particular moment of the game I did not like was when that happened. Yeah, right. that was not a highlight of the game. We do on this podcast, we do the boner of the game.
Oh,
and like the most exciting game because we're 8 years old.
You know how I feel about those.
Mm-hmm.
Love them.
Love him. Yum.
Big boner guy.
Yeah, that's right. But that was my anti. That was my any.
Yeah, I didn't like that play. But I liked the score at the time and the amount of time that was left in the game and the difference in quality of opponents at that point. And I thought, all right, well, that's going to be the worst play of the game. So now the Bills need to win by 3 from here on, or 4 from here on out. I mean, that was the moment where they were down 3. That's the part you didn't like. The brief part where they trailed by 3 points.
They were down by 3. I mean, they also
weren't.
let them come back from 17-0, and the offense stopped working for a little bit. And then they had those fluky or not, they were turnovers, and it just wasn't. They didn't seem to be, efficiently moving the ball, and the Dolphins were able to come back. And again, like, it's just one of those things where you look at that and you're like, Skylar Thompson sucked. And his stats reflected that, and they had like 120 yards of offense. But why was that score like that?
Because of turnovers. Because of turnovers that came with returns. If that's just an interception on the deep ball to John Brown, and they're starting at their 14-yard line or something, that doesn't turn into anything. If Bass doesn't kick the ball out of bounds at the 40, that doesn't turn into anything. And that's where things got rolling, really, is when that started. And if the interception on the tip ball, the Cole Beasley, I'll call it a drop, if that doesn't have a giant return, that doesn't turn into anything. So I didn't like the return yardage on the turnovers. And ultimately, when I look at the stats after the game, the one thing that I think is scary, that's a legit stat, is that Josh Allen got sacked 7 times. That part I don't like at all, because that was legit pressure that he was dealing with. And you could watch kind of mental stuff going on with him over the course of the game, watching him, feeling great. And anybody have a point in the game that they want to say, hey, the Bills were feeling a little too comfortable at 17-0, and this is where things start to turn? Because I have a moment that I saw. It was that play where Diggs caught the ball, and it looked like it might have been intended for, I don't know if it was Shakir or David.
Yeah. It went right over Shakir.
Laid down, and he flipped it back up to him like, we're just playing here. And from that moment, it felt like the Bills weren't super locked in on the task at hand, and it got away from them. And then they got it back because they're the better team. But that was the moment that I didn't like out of everything. And, the one you brought up about Josh Allen getting rodeoed or whatever it was no fun. But that was the first moment where I was like, hey, you guys are still here, right? You're still serious? And things kind of went south from there.
So what you're saying, Brad, is the offense needs to practice tackling drills, and then they can be a complete team.
Honestly, that might be what I'm saying. The worst thing that happened was when the ball got turned over. Yeah, it turned into a 40 and 50.
I'll also say, I think a small, maybe not momentum, because they ended up getting that field goal to make it 17-0. When it was 14-0, Dawson Knox drops a touchdown pass. I don't know if it was
sort of made the most amazing grab. Are you talking about the one right before the end of the half?
The one that should have been a touchdown?
Yeah, where they ended up kicking a field goal because he dropped it on 3rd down.
I was thinking of him because I'm setting up trivia for later. I had Stephon Diggs in my head. I thought you were talking about that amazing almost catch at the end of the first half. Dawson Knox
would have been the second Knox touchdown, I think is what Kyle's referring to. And honestly, I thought there was a decent chance that would have stood, kind of like the play at the end of the game where we were determining whether or not Singletary picked up the first down. It looked to me like super inconclusive evidence that there was a reasonable chance wouldn't have been overturned. So, I mean, I wasn't blown away or mad that the Knox thing, but that could have gone either way, and that could have been a touchdown. That 21-0 at that point, probably
that
over.
The Shakir, the first long catch that he didn't make, like,
how
close is that to? And that was blowout city. That was just that was blowout. Like that would have the party just would have kept rolling. Like
that was 51-3
style.
That
that's amazing how close football is from like the shit we had to go through today for 4 hours to 51-3 is like 5 plays.
I find myself wondering after the game if the Dolphins fans feel about the 3 games against the Bills this year like Bills fans felt against the Patriots for 20 years. Where it was like, we did so much right, but ultimately we have a pop gun offense going against this team that's certainly more powerful than us. And we did all the stuff. We got to the quarterback. We forced him to turn the ball over. I mean, you look at a guy, he got picked off twice and fumbled 3 times and threw for 352 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's the bad game out of this monster that the Bills have at quarterback. So that's pretty frustrating if you're a Dolphins fan and you saw all the good things that they did, but you still didn't really, I know points wise you did, but you never really were that competitive in any aspect of the game aside from having really good returns on your takeaways.
Mm-hmm. I was very surprised that Josh didn't run the ball more. That's like his main thing in the playoffs. We talked about it on our Patreon episode. If anyone wants to subscribe, there you go, Sean, put it out there. He was, I believe, on DraftKings, right? He was plus 700 to lead the playoffs in rush yards, only behind Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
And
the
they did
Dolphins...
not use his running at all today, except for, I believe, one important run he had on I believe
on third down,
right before one of those end.
I love that
the
play.
last touchdown, but
I love that play
perfect.
so
But
much.
man, I just feel like I remember those 3 years with Daboll. I was like, Josh is getting in a playoff game. Josh is getting 12 to 15 carries a game, no matter what.
Well,
and they did not use that.
I think him running the ball is the way to get his head back in it. When you see him start slipping away, like it was today, because he was costing them the turnovers, whether they're his fault or not, whether Beasley should catch a ball or not, whether John Brown should break up a ball or not. He feels the weight of Western New York on his shoulders when it gets into games like this. And I think the way to get him out of it is not to have him flicking the ball 45 yards down the field on 3rd and 10, trying to hit Stephon Diggs on, what's essentially a Hail Mary. I think the move is to get him running and hitting people and juking people and jumping over people. And ultimately they did it. And the one big play, he ran 4 carries, 20 yards. The big one was a 12-yard gain. But I loved it so much because it was the play where Deion Dawkins was a little banged up for whatever reason, and he had to come out of the game. Quessenberry comes in at left tackle. I'm like, what are they going to do here? And what they did is took the snap and ran Josh the other way because they knew Deion's coming back in one play, and they escaped and picked up a first down, got him some confidence, got Dawkins back in the game. I thought that was one of the bigger plays of the game. It was awesome.
So the one thing you don't want to do while watching a Bills game is go online. Just don't ever do it. Like, especially a game like this, you just can't, because it's chaos. It's just fire this and fire that. I do want to bring this up and see what you feel about this, both you guys. The play calling, like the Ken Dorsey, like the long passes when you needed some sustained drives to hold on to that 10-point lead you had, and you throw deep twice to Davis. That's when the internet was at peak, like magenta, like, we're going to blow. Is that as big as an issue as it is? That was frustrating for me to see them. I just wanted a sustained drive. They didn't try and run the ball at all. Maybe they just weren't, that wasn't happening, but I would have liked to have seen a little more Cook, maybe a screen pass to Hines. I don't know what the hell is going on that they can't do that, but something else other than 2 long passes to Davis and then a 3rd and 10.
I don't lay that stuff on Dorsey usually. I have a huge problem with the internet in general, with people in general, with like Pro Football Focus and this assumption that what they say is right, or whoever the advanced analytics stats people tell you, the numbers they give you are based on their guesses on what was supposed to happen. I think a lot of times Josh Allen sees Gabe Davis one-on-one and says, I got this, he's going to beat his man and I can hit him. So he makes that choice when he had other options. And then when it doesn't work, the internet blames Ken Dorsey. And I don't think that's necessarily accurate. So, I definitely
he does talk to him for 20 seconds before every play. Like,
I
can't
that.
say, hey.
But in the moment, he doesn't give the guy one option. The plays, I mean, there's a reason that he's reading a defense and looking from this option to that option and going through his progression and those things. It's because he takes all the information in and then makes a decision in the moment. So that's on the quarterback. And I'm not going to blast the quarterback for, winning the game, throwing for 352 yards. And, he would have been the reason they lost this game, but he's the reason they won when they won this game too. So, I don't know. I just think people deciding to, attach blame when they have no idea what was supposed to happen on a play is absurd. And it's why I don't go online during games. I have one person that I'm willing to text with during games because his opinions matter to me. And it's Scott Wilson, who's our friend. I do broadcast with. Dorsey. And it's Ken Dorsey.
Yes.
No, it's Scott.
Great call, Ken. I know it's not your fault.
He's the only person, even if I disagree with him, I know where his heart's at. I know where his brain's at. I know his background, and I know he knows football. And so I can have that conversation with him. But man, I don't care what random people on Twitter say at all.
No, but they're the fun ones.
Yeah. They're
You know what I
the ones
mean?
listening to this
don't.
pod.
Sometimes you don't
Well,
want. Yeah, you don't want logical.
I want them to
stuff
listen. I don't want them to
sometimes.
talk.
I thought it was very. Again, I feel like I've said this every week, but like, and this is a Josh Allen thing for sure. The running backs, all three combined, 1 catch, 7 yards. Again, just something like you want to talk about, like getting Josh going, running. I agree with that. What also helps a little bit is just, hey, a little dump off here. Let that guy juke a guy. And I feel like, again, from watching at the game, you know, and on TV, you really only see the line of scrimmage. So you see the backs sneak out, and you're just like, and again, I feel like Josh Allen has done so much good not checking down that we almost go, well, sometimes you got to take the good with the bad here, or the bad with the good, that you're like, sometimes it's going to launch it to triple coverage and it's going to get intercepted, and there'll be a back 2 feet from him. Or he could have ran, but he's just going to do that because sometimes that goes complete. And so I can't bitch all the time. But I can bitch all the time. It's my podcast.
That's right. I think you were at the game. I watched it on TV, and there was a moment. I mean, can we all agree? What was the best pass Josh Allen threw today? Can we agree? It's the okay. I'm going to say the Gabe Davis touchdown. Okay. On the left side.
Both good. Yeah. That was good.
The play just before that, Tony Romo's praising Josh Allen for settling for the underneath pass to Beasley and letting him scamper for the yards. And I mean, that play obviously justified him being back on the team. That play alone. Mm-hmm. On the next play, he said, oh, look at this. He should go to Beasley again. No, Josh Allen doesn't go to Beasley again. Josh Allen throws the most perfect pass you can possibly throw that gives the Bills the touchdown that ultimately wins them the football game. So yeah, that's the kind of guy we got. We got a gunslinger, and he can do a lot of other things, and that, you know, he can sometimes be nice and calm and peaceful and check it down and you know, give us the comfort of that. But he's also trying to go out there and win the game, and I'm okay with that.
Do you think at all, right, or does it worry you at all that I know they got a defensive touchdown, but a Skylar Thompson-led Miami Dolphins team put up 31 points? Or do you think at this point it's the playoffs and it doesn't fucking matter?
Skylar Thompson's offense did not put up that many points.
The
Josh Allen the roller derby touchdown, the shortened field on all of those. He had one really good drive when it mattered a lot. I give him credit for that. I don't give him that. The defense played so good today, which we haven't even talked about. I wanted to bring up some positives, but so I didn't mean to I didn't mean to cut you off there.
You listen to this podcast and you would figure they lost, and that's my fault. That's on me.
No, they're like I think the defense played well, but because they had to, because the offense just everything went wrong. They shit their pants for 60 minutes.
Before the game, or I said before we started recording, Greg, you heard me. I said I hate when they win, because I feel like I'm wrong and everyone hates me, and I love when they lose because I feel like I'm right. And so today I'm angry because I'm wrong. You know?
Yeah. To go back to the point, you're right. It was one drive. Greg, you're right about Thompson. It was one drive that went 11 plays for 67 yards. Other than that, we're talking 3 plays punt, 2 plays interception, 6 plays punt. They had a 38-yard, 38-yard field goal drive. 8 plays.
That's hard to do. That is hard to go 38 yards in 10 plays.
8 plays, 23 yards, field goal. 4 plays, 13 yards, field goal. 4 plays, 18 yards, touchdown. 3 plays, 1 yard punt. 3 plays, 4 yards, punt. 3 plays, -9 yards, interception. 4 plays, 13 yards, punt. Good drive, 11, 67, touchdown. 3 plays, 5 yards, punt. 7 plays, 39 yards. It's over on downs. That's not a Skylar Thompson-led offense doing a damn thing.
This podcast is Sean always yells at me because when the Bills go down by 3, I text a group, no pod. Like I never want to do this podcast. Anyone listening knows this is against my will. I do not like to do it, but Sean always says, like, when the Bills lose, they lost 3 times this year. And I was like, I'm not trying to be cute. I do not want to do this podcast. I do not like talking about the game after the loss. And he always says to me, he's like, you'll feel better when you do it. And he's always wrong, but I do feel better about this. The more I think about this game, not just this podcast is helping. Brad is being like super positive, I think, which, like, if you're listening to this, I hope you're listening to this as soon as possible in the week. because there's some positivity coming out of here. So what would you rather have? We're not going to preview the next game yet. We still have some things to talk about the Miami game, but like the offense looking amazing, the defense actually giving up 35 points to Skylar Thompson, or the defense just really looking good locked down on the offense, just having the worst day possible. I would rather have what happened today going into next week than if the defense was like just hurt and lacking and just looking terrible.
Yeah, no, I mean, I thought they looked hungry. They forced, and being at home like next week is going to be, the crowd was a part of it too. All the penalties they took, false starts and delay of games and near delay of games. And my God, what was going on with timeouts today? How many times did the whistle blow when you didn't want it to, and then not blow when you wanted it to? And oh my God, the Sean McDermott's choices of when to call timeouts. I thought he had 6 of them. He went 2 for 6, maybe on it being acceptable, and 4 for 6 on it being horrible. So
I do not think his judgment is good on like challenges and things like that. Like, I think that's a valid criticism of Sean McDermott is just someone needs to be in his ear, and that's their job. Just someone he trusts. He needs Scott Wilson in his ear during a game.
Sure.
Someone he trusts to tell him, like, do not challenge this.
Honestly, I could stand, it wouldn't even have to be a human being. It could be just a robot, or like, hey, Google, remind me every time I'm thinking about challenging that this doesn't work. It's mostly not going to work. And if it's super close, my Google thing just turned on.
Ask it to text McDermott.
Buy dildos, Google. Send them to Brad's house. Damn it.
Subscribe to the In the Hunt Patreon, Google.
It's definitely listening.
$20 tier, Google. Subscribe.
It's going to listen to the rest of the podcast. Now it's like, headphones? Do you want headphones? No. Google, stop. Hey, Google, stop.
Die, Google. Die.
Nothing's been said. All right. I don't remember what we were saying when this thing over here.
It's not important.
Whose name I won't speak
McDermott
again.
shouldn't challenge anything, and he should stop calling timeouts.
Just don't do it. It's not. It almost never works. It's got to be so clear, and it's just a waste. And you look at, I mean, Miami did it to themselves too. They got down late, and if they had been smarter about it and controlled the situation more, they would have been in a better position to maybe punt the ball away and then try to get it back instead of having to go for it late. And it was a mess, I thought.
That's why you beat a rookie quarterback, though, because he doesn't have his shit together to get to the line of scrimmage. Like, that's the difference between playing a rookie quarterback and a third-year quarterback. Sure. That dude's not going to be ready to play in that stadium with that amount of noise, not knowing the playbooks. You're talking about 4 seconds is the difference between him being ready and not ready.
Right.
That's why the spread was 13.
Right. And now it's 3rd and 18 with 2 minutes left in Orchard Park, New York, in a playoff game, in a game you're not supposed to win, and you're kind of screwed. So, yes, I agree with that.
I usually do these earlier in the broadcast, but my boner of the week was Trey White's broken up pass. Like,
boner of the whole week. You had a week-long boner?
Well, there's only one game this week, so I'll do that. Yes, I do. It was more than 4 hours. That was seeing him do well is what I need for the next 2 games. Him and Kyrie Elam having as good as game he has. Like, I don't mind that secondary being right around
Taron Johnson too. He was
well, he's always kind of been consistently back, but like those 3 together, like, I'll take that.
Yeah.
How close was Elam to having a pair of interceptions in his first career playoff game, and one to seal it also?
Yeah.
I mean, his pick was, again, the 3rd time Scott Wilson comes up, but Scott said the Elam pick.
We should have Scott Wilson on the pod.
Next time, I highly recommend it. I recommend it to everybody who calls me to talk about UB. I'm like, you should talk to Scott. He's better. But the play where the interception that Elam actually had, he compared to a heavyweight boxer getting his legs back. Like, he's taking some punches, and just all of a sudden he's turning on you. And, that next drive went well. And I think that was, among many, one of the big turning points of the game. And I'm proud of what they were able to do. I thought Skylar Thompson would be worse. I don't think he played too bad.
No, his stats did not reflect a good game. Especially, I don't know what he ended up fully at, but at one point he was like, again, I think middle of the 3rd quarter, they had 120 yards of offense.
Don't look at stats anymore, because I had to come up with trivia questions on the fly, and there might be some stat-related stuff in there. So if you already looked at it, it's okay. There's nothing I can do about that. Sean's going to be so mad because he's going to hear me typing It's right next to the mic, and I wasn't thinking. And just in case you don't know, Brad, Sean is a psychopath. So don't.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what's the story with Sean?
He died.
He's
But
dead, yeah.
like
he'll haunt us about editing for sure.
That's right. He'll know. I don't even know where he's doing a show somewhere. He's like in some big city. He's in his New York City loft apartment doing comedy in a different
I get
city.
that, but I'm curious about his sort of God complex on this podcast.
He likes clean audio. That's it. It's not.
Why
Really
is he in charge?
He's a big. Well,
he took it. I used
Greg
to edit
and
don't
like want to do it.
I used to edit, and we used to do this like Zencaster where they'd send all three feeds to me. So if you're an audiophile, you'll appreciate this. Brad used to do audio editing. So I'd get a recording from Kyle, a recording from Sean, a recording from me, and it was set in a file, and I'd put it into audio Audacity or something like that, and I'd put all three of them on the lines, and I'd line them up where it started, and then I would just save it. Like I wouldn't do any editing, but like with Zoom, the lag.
Maybe that's why Sean took over.
And like Sean would lose his mind. He'd be Monday afternoon. He'd be like, "What the hell happened?" Like 30 minutes into the podcast, like
they're all talking over each other. Yeah.
It was lagging. It was terrible, and I never listened to my own podcast, so I never.
Why would you?
So after
Nobody
2
does.
years of that, Sean took over all editing, and he is not kind about it.
But we do. Strict. I mean, we listen every time. I feel like it's a new rule, and you and I just accept it. We're like, you got it, man. I'll tell my entire family to shut the fuck up if Sean doesn't yell at me.
Try to tell my mom to go stand outside during the episode.
I can't believe that I haven't been interrupted by 3 kids and a dog running around on hardwood floors directly above my head as I sit in my basement, because it happens a lot.
Here's the thing: Sean called them.
Sean's got him locked in my shed.
Sean sent him a box of Candyland. It's like, play this in the other room, keep busy for 40 minutes.
I have a tweet of the game. I got a tweet of the game.
Yeah, the game. Kyle did some work.
This one was tough because I want to say
because the game sucked.
The game was so wild on Twitter, and now everyone's watching this game. All fans. There's no other games going on, so everyone's watching this. And the amount of fans that are like, the Bills, the NFL wants the Bills to win. Miami had 7 flags, Bills had 2. Twitter takes that as other teams' fans are like, of course, the refs and the NFL are going to push. They want the Bills-Bengals game. They want Bills-Chiefs, whatever it, they want both those games, blah, blah, blah. And I had this thought of like, that's how you know your team is good, when other fans are like, the NFL rigged it for you. Because for so long I was like, well, why weren't we rigged at all for 20 years? Why did they rig that part of it for us? They couldn't help out a little, but so I felt good about that. It's funny reading those. I found this one. This guy is probably a bot, but he said, this guy's name is Elvis Gatta.
His tweet is, visit my site for
he did steal all my Bitcoin, so I'm gonna tweet at him after this. He put, after seeing crybaby Josh Allen for Buffalo react the way he did to the opposite team by pushing a Miami player. This is the Christian Wilkins fight. He said, because he was mad, he had just threw an interception. Allen showed an evil side of him. Not a good look for kids learning respect of the game. Josh is fake.
Is there not a character limit on Twitter? Like, that was a fucking 6-page tweet.
Yeah, he must know Elon or something. But one, I love evil Josh. That's a funny character. Just like the devil is evil. Just red-eyed Josh. But also, I'm not going to lie, I love that Josh Allen and Christian Wilkins hate each other. It makes it so much better because they're both great. And I just love that at any minute, there's always going to be a fist fight for as long as they're both on these teams.
I love the Dolphin rivalry kind of being back. Like it was when I was a kid.
I was going to ask, this has to be great for you because I don't remember the Dolphin rivalry. I was too young. So this has to be just like, this is awesome. This is just like it was.
I think I'm too late too, because by the 90s, when I was getting into, like, I grew up a Seahawks fan because I like Steve Largent. By the time the Bills were good, the Dolphins they were our bitch. Like, we went to 4 straight Super Bowls. They won some games, but I never really was. It wasn't like New England. I don't know what I'm saying. Brad, you talk.
No, I agree. We're about the same age. So we don't remember the Bills going 0 for the 70s
That's it.
against the Dolphins, but we do know how our dads talked about the Dolphins in the 80s. And then by the 90s, when both teams had a quarterback, they had this guy who was a superstar and just couldn't get past our team because we had another star who I don't think Kelly's level of stardom or his level of talent was ever appreciated the same way across the board as Marino, like as a pure passer or whatever, however you want to put it. But Marino could not get past the Bills and Kelly. So we got to witness our dads being happy to avenge what had happened in the 70s. And then I think the 70s happened to us with the Patriots. Patriots didn't even notice that the Bills were a rival. We noticed that the Patriots were a rival. But now I think the Dolphins, this feels right. Like these 3 games this year were all close. They were all fights. And the Bills definitely feel like the better team. But going into next year, regardless of what happens from here on out, that's the team I'm going to wonder about. I'm going to pick the Bills to win the division next year, and I think most people will. But that's the team I'm worried about, or not worried about, but thinking about. Like, oh, what are they going to do? How are they going to tweak it? And it's 3 tight games. And honestly, it really stands out to me that after the game, I found out that they had 7 sacks of Josh Allen today. I've never seen that total, I don't think, in his career. Have we seen Josh Allen get sacked?
Maybe that. I think that
They're up to
their first matchup, I think they had like 7 or 9 sacks. Like
Sounds right,
somewhere
yeah.
between there.
You know
That
what?
game was a mess.
That
too,
was a fake game that was
mess,
played
yeah.
on a different planet. That was 1,050 degrees. We were missing half our guys. People were collapsing constantly, and there were like 10 different weird things that happened, and they won by what, half a point? I mean, it was stupid. But the Bills are the best team in the East, but they noticed the Dolphins this year. So I think this is building on a rivalry, and also it makes more sense to hate Florida than it does to hate Massachusetts. So I'm in favor of Bills Dolphins rivalry for a long time. We'll see if Tua's a part of it. That's going to be interesting because the Skylar Thompson led team is not going to be their rival.
I think we will. I think there'll be some chatter before, assuming the Bengals are the team. We are recording this before technically we know who we're facing, but it should be the Bengals. If not, this episode will be out on Tuesday because we got to re-record for a
we'll just have Sean do a blurb about what it'll be like playing Jacksonville.
I think there will be some chatter of just be like, how do you think this game ends with Tua? And if Tua plays a full game, is this game different? I don't think it's not going to matter, and it'll be easy to be like, it would have been the same. But it would
have been a little different until Tua left the game with a concussion. That's when it would have been.
True.
Yeah.
Changed.
I mean, I would have approached the week mentally differently, just as a fan. I'm not on the team, but I would have had some concern because I've seen what it's like when he's right. And I know what their 2 wide receivers can be if there's a player who can hit them. So I would have been a lot more concerned about the spread wouldn't have been, would get up to 13.5 by this morning. It wouldn't have done that. We would have been in the 9 range, something like that. Either way, they covered it. So yeah, I mean, I think they would have approached it differently if it was Tua. I would have felt differently about all of it. I would have been scared throughout the game more if it was Tua. But that offense was never going to do anything in this game. They had 1 drive all day, and that I think it matters. I think it matters a lot that he didn't play in this game.
All right, we'll talk about the Bengals next, so get ready for that. We always have at this point in the podcast before we start talking about next week our blurb from our number 1 Patreon. David Sumner is now our number 1 Patreon. He sent along his blurb. He asks, did this game establish delay of game is no longer a penalty? That was pretty crazy. There's that, like, the second in between the clock being from 1 to 0 is 17 seconds, it seems. And that's like all-time NFL. Like it's never just a second. That clock can be at 00 for several seconds in the NFL. Today, it obviously stood out with how many times the Dolphins got close to it or called for it. So Sean sent a blurb too. He said, I turned off the game at halftime because it wasn't worth it to watch them squeak a win or lose a terrible game. It was a great decision. So that was Sean.
Sean Murphy?
Sean Murphy, yes.
Are you doing you're doing trivia, Greg?
I'm doing trivia. Do we do that first?
Yes.
Oh, we
I
do
don't know how
trivia.
this
Okay.
works. I don't work
It's
here.
only been
Don't worry.
5 years.
It's quick.
for
Well, I
me.
couldn't remember what it was. So Sean usually Sean's very good at coming up with trivia. He does his own trivia, like he has his own trivia empire. So he does trivia. I know, Brad, that you also are adverse at trivia. But Sean does it, and it's always stupid. So there's going to be 3 questions. There is a tiebreaker in case there's a tie. You
Was it me
have to
against
be
Kyle?
Yes.
It's you against Kyle.
Okay.
The winner gets a jersey that does not exist. Today, we are playing for the jersey of Dean Cain. I don't know. I couldn't think of a random.
Are you wearing Jeff Wright right now?
This is at Oliver.
Okay.
Jeff Wright.
I got excited about the Bills, and I never owned a jersey because I've never had any money.
Yeah.
And 2 years ago, when I went there, when like it was right before the playoffs started, and like the only jerseys they had were Ed Oliver and like a Thurman Thomas throwback double XL. Like there's only 2 jerseys that existed, and I got this. And this is when Oliver was like, you probably weren't going to be on the team next year, and he ended up turning everything around because I bought this jersey. But that's a side bet story.
If we had gone to the store together, I would have taken the 2X Thurman.
Yeah,
It would have been perfect. They would have sold out of jerseys.
yeah. Or yes, too bad you decided to go with Scott Wilson instead of me.
Yeah.
Because he's your best friend. All
Love
right,
that
so
He's
so
so
I'm going
good.
to ask you 3 questions. There is a tiebreaker if it's needed. We're playing for a Dean Cain Bills jersey that doesn't exist.
Love it.
And Brad, I will start with you. Which of the following, and I had to come up with this because Kyle was supposed to do it and didn't. So I came up with this while we were getting ready to record.
Typical Kyle.
Yes.
It's not my
Brad,
job.
which of the following actors or actresses were not in the 1989 movie Gleaming the Cube? Was it A, Christian Slater, B, Tony Hawk, C, Pauly Shore, or D, Rita Rutner? Which of the following were not in the 1989 smash hit Gleaming the Cube?
So one of them was not in it.
One of them was not in this movie.
I'm gonna have to go Pauly Shore.
Okay.
I know Christian Slater was in it. I've never seen it before. I know it involves skateboarding, so I'll put Tony Hawk in. Rita Rudner seems more appropriate to 89 than whoever I just said isn't in it. Pauly Shore. Pauly Shore seems a little later.
Okay. Don't forget you're helping Kyle think this out.
It's
I
not
think he was
forgetting.
born in
I don't know
89.
how the game is played.
Okay, that's okay. So
Okay.
No,
Kyle,
talking
your
it
turn
out
to
is the
answer.
best. Now, what's the name of this movie?
Gleaming the Cube. It
Now-
was a skateboarding movie. Brad gave that up. So
I hear
have to,
you.
like,
See now, that
Jesus,
sounds
just give me a
that
fucking
sounds
answer.
like a Pauly Shore phrase. You know what I mean?
Gleaming
So-
the Cube.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Cube.
saying. That sounds like something he would say. So I will go. How old is Tony Hawk? He's got to be like 50. He was probably in that movie, but was he a pro? Probably. There were like 4 skateboarders at that time. I'm going to go with the D, the last one.
Rita
Rita
Rutner.
Rutner.
Okay.
Sure, yeah.
The answer is C, Pauly Shore. Rita
God
Rutner wasn't it?
bless.
Tony Hawk was.
Did he name the movie though?
No, he
Does he-
did.
Maybe
He did.
It's
I
not called
can't. I
Cube.
can't be sure. He wasn't. All right. Question 2. We start
Can I
with
have credit
Kyle.
for how well I did on
You did great.
talking
You did
through
great.
that thing? I'm not going to do it that way next time.
You should have helped. Like you
I
helped.
do
Kyle,
that
Kyle
every
should have
time.
Kyle should have drafted behind you and saved on gas mileage and got the right answer, but he did not. He didn't follow the full bike into the end zone. What number is Kyle? Kyle. The official.
Hire
The
Kyle.
views of the official trailer of Gleaming the Cube on YouTube, the views of the official trailer for Gleaming the Cube on YouTube, or the combined stadium capacity for both the Bills and Chiefs stadiums. So views of the official trailer on YouTube for Gleaming the Cube,
Mhm.
or seat capacity for fans for the Bills and Chiefs stadiums.
And there's an official trailer.
There's an official trailer, yes.
I've never heard of this fucking movie, man. I'm gonna go the attendance. of the
Attendance, okay.
stadiums.
Brad, views
going-
or stadium capacity?
I'm going views because I've seen the crap I've put on YouTube that's gotten more than I'm going to guess, 150,000 would be the attendance. So I'm going views on YouTube.
Boy, there will not be a tiebreaker. Brad gets it. 191,000 views, which is not a lot for the official trailer for
Oh,
Gleaming the
that's
Cube.
terrible.
This is as close.
132,000 for
It's not close.
the total attendance for the stadiums. We'll do the
Pretty
last,
close.
even though Brad wins no matter what. I had a question about who had more receiving yards today, but you all know the totals.
Do
for
the
bunch of guys.
tiebreaker.
What number is higher?
7.
Gleaming the Cube's score on Rotten Potatoes or Skylar Thompson's
Did you say
completion
rotten
percentage?
potatoes?
He definitely did.
Did I
You
say
said
potatoes?
potatoes, dude.
Oh, that wasn't on purpose.
No.
That's amazing.
Gleaming the
I
Cube.
thought maybe you guys had there's a lawsuit where you had a problem with Rotten Tomatoes. Now you can't say it anymore.
No,
so you
I
have to call it
hated.
potatoes.
I made a movie and they gave me a low score, so I created my own site, which is Rotten Potatoes, and my movie is awesome there.
Yeah.
What number is higher, the score on Rotten Tomatoes for Gleaming the Cube or Skylar Thompson's completion percentage in today's game? So I guess even if you knew that, you still wouldn't know the answer to this question. We start with Brad.
I think Thompson. Oh, wait, I shouldn't. What's higher or lower?
Higher. You need higher. What's higher? The Rotten Tomatoes?
Skylar Thompson is higher.
Skylar Thompson
I
completion
think it's
percentage.
Skylar Thompson.
Brad?
Well, my name's Kyle. So
I'm reading Brad's name on screen. That's how stupid I am.
In capital letters.
Hey man, rotten
Sure
potatoes.
Rotten potatoes.
I'm gonna
Potatoes can
go.
rot.
They can. I don't think they have a website that rates movies, but all of your answers have been the movie, so I'm just gonna go with the movie. You son of a bitch! You probably fucking.
I think
Brad.
Skylar is about 40%, and I think Rotten Tomato or Gleaming the Cube is probably 27%.
Wow. I mean, way to high step into the end zone, Dion. Skylar Thompson's completion percentage was exactly 40%. The Rotten Potato score was 29, which is pretty damn close.
So, pathetic.
All right. So
I stayed under, though. I didn't go over.
No, you did. Price is right.
It's a win.
I got
DK
3
jersey
rounds.
coming my way.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah,
up?
that's right. Now your lifetime percentage goes down and mine doesn't. So that's cool. All right. Next week, we're playing the Cincinnati Bengals. Kyle always comes up with a key to the game to every game. He probably did not today.
I did.
But just in case he does, he did. Okay, so Kyle Turner has a key to the game against the Bengals. It is the AFC divisional playoff game. Do I have that right?
Yeah, that's what it's called for no reason.
Because we play in the division with the Bengals, and we're assuming the Bengals. You might hear some edited audio. You wouldn't know. We'll just edit the audio. So it doesn't matter. They're playing the Bengals.
Oh, that's true.
And if they
It would
don't,
only
we'll
be
just
like
edit
a
the audio.
15-minute episode tomorrow.
I think they're playing the Jaguars.
Yeah.
Okay, so I read this.
Talk about that next.
I read this on Joe Burrow's Wikipedia here. This is pretty crazy. I didn't know this. In January this year, so sometime in the past 15 days, Burrow was among a coalition of about a dozen athletes, including Blake Griffin and Kevin Gosman, who purchased a 104-acre North Iowa farm with plans to further acquire a diverse set of agricultural assets.
Please keep in mind this is a key to the game.
Yes.
I'm telling Brad this. I'm just
okay.
hoping Brad follows along that this is a key to the
following.
game.
I'm following.
I think here's what we do. We know how fast rumors can spread on the internet. What if we try to make we say that they bought that land and they're trying to reinvent like Epstein's Island.
I was going Epstein too.
on the land, and then Burrow can't play. He's in jail or whatever until he gets out, unless there are kids on there. That's how rumors start.
Yeah.
It's
oh
Pizzagate,
God, no.
Burrowgate.
No. Oh, don't. No. Okay. It's done. I can't do anything about it.
Am I supposed to react to that, or what's my role?
You do whatever the hell you want. I mean,
I saw where as soon as he said 134 acres or whatever, my first thought was, oh, weed farm. And then my second thought was Epstein Island. And he went to the Epstein part. So
weed would be pretty cool.
I mean, you can do both. 134 acres is a lot of acres.
That's a lot of acres. Number. That's a lot of weed plants, a lot of kids. That's everything.
You could do a lot with that.
I don't clothing sweatshop.
You're bringing up a good point here, Brad. What are they doing?
I thought of Field of Dreams.
I
thought of Field of Dreams. Also, you know how cheap steel buildings are? You could put a steel building over that whole thing. 134 acre steel building.
Where is it located?
Iowa.
Oh yeah, you don't even have to get what do you got to get like a little tornado proofing there for insurance? This is dirt cheap.
Yeah, it's not. Oh, tornadoes and steel building. It might be different. Yeah, I would say I don't know what to say. I don't know how to follow that up. That was good, Kyle.
Okay. Thanks. So what do you actually think about like let's do a prediction? So you think they're going to be playing the Jaguars because you think the Ravens are going to be the Bengals tonight?
I just think it's very realistic. I think we got a very strong reminder today of what playing a division rival that doesn't like you can look like in a playoff game. And, I think the Ravens are going to be crap at quarterback, just like the Dolphins were kind of crap at quarterback. But I think they're going to be live. They're absolutely live in this game. And, I mean, look at the only 2 games that have happened so far have been, right now, Giants are up as we're talking
24-14 on the Vikings.
Up 10 on the Vikings with 8 minutes left in the third quarter. Both of the other games, we had a 1-point game yesterday, which was a great comeback and crazy story. And then a 3-point game today in a couple games that were expected to be very lopsided. And I think Bengals Ravens is another game that's expected to be lopsided, but is a divisional game, and anything can happen, obviously. I'm at like 50-50. I think the Bengals are the better team, and I certainly fear a contest with the Bengals more than I fear one with the Ravens. But I would not be surprised at all if this Jim Harbaugh-led team won a playoff game against a divisional opponent.
I guess it goes the same for this game that everyone will have watched by the time they listen to this, or if the Bills do play the Bengals, hearing that they have some offensive line troubles, which was like what their issue was when they were bad. Knowing that they might be missing a few players it gives me like some hope. Like after this game, there's not going to be a lot of Bills fans that are going to be fired up and think that they can just easily take the Bengals or even win the game. I think most Bills fans will now just assume that we are going to lose to the Bengals next week, or even the Jaguars if it's going to be the Jaguars. But knowing offensive line trouble is like the one thing that would give me hope. Other than Joe Burrow injury, offensive line trouble would be the only thing that would give me hope that they might actually beat the Bengals.
I don't think it's going to be close. Sorry.
But you said
but
that
I'm
every
a
week.
Piece of shit.
Yes, that's it. But we love.
But you don't think it's close? Which way?
He picks the Bills to lose every game by 40 points.
I think the Bengals are gonna beat them pretty handily.
What's the score?
Because
I normally say 49-10. I'm usually
most people do.
I'm usually off a little bit.
I'm usually off. They haven't lost a game by more than 3 points.
And it's a score that's never happened in NFL history, probably.
No. I think
I'll admit I'm usually not right about
that. When I predict a 39-point loss for a 14-3 team.
I think it's the Bengals. I think the Bengals squeak a win out 65-32.
Okay. Wow, 32.
It's gonna be.
We went for 2 on that last touchdown.
I will say this: looking over, the Bengals wins over the last 2 months of the season. The Steelers scored 30 on them. They beat the Titans by 4 points. The Browns, they put up 23 points. They should have lost to the Patriots had it not been for one fucking weird thing. And they just beat the Ravens 27-16. And that was still with their third string quarterback. So, it could get interesting. It'll be fun. I'll watch a little bit of it. And then I'll crash because my body is so tired from this game.
And no pod if they lose. That's the nice thing. You don't have to do this.
Oh, that's true.
I don't have to do it ever again.
No, but we want you to. You did a great job. We love having a guest like you on where I don't have to do anything. Like you have thoughts about football. No, not at all.
I talk too much. Hey, you want to come on our podcast and talk? You're like, it might be too much.
I have found that radio shows, people call me to do stuff, and I was like, I'm sorry for dominating that whole thing, talking over all of your points you were trying to make. I'm sorry.
No, I didn't think that there was any talking over, and we enjoyed your commentary. You were a voice of reason, and I was just ready to just shit on the team for 48 minutes.
Yeah, I got a surprise.
Uh-oh.
Check out what I got.
Is it
it's balloons.
I got a big hat.
My.
Isn't that cool?
Yes, oh my God.
It is.
I got a big hat.
I have a question about big hats.
Yeah, go ahead. It looks
what
cool.
What are they used for other than exactly what you're doing right now? Like, hey, look, I got one. Film me.
They keep more rain out. They keep more rain off of you.
Right, but I couldn't even. Could you imagine?
And sun.
Greg, I've got a giant head.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I imagine that hat would fit on me, but if the inside part, I couldn't wear that in a car.
No. You're tall too.
Tough.
You couldn't wear that.
You can't wear it in a convertible.
In a convertible.
Not it's gone. Game. You can't wear it at a game. You're blocking the view.
No, I just wore it.
Holding an umbrella.
I wore it today.
How'd that go? How tall are you?
He's like 6'4".
I'm tall. I'm like 6'2".
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we're close.
Yeah. What's up, ladies? Got my big head on.
You have new glasses? You look good.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
really
I'm killing
good.
it. We should have Brad on more, man. This is I feel really great.
We were told recently. Sean and I were told by a young woman at a comedy show this year that Kyle's the hottest one from the podcast.
What's a young woman to you these days?
She was, I would say she's in her 20s, like
That's
late
early.
20s,
Yeah, that's young.
late 20s, I think. Yeah.
Okay, that's nice.
I wouldn't
Kyle's
I wouldn't mention any younger than that. Like I would not. Like if an 18-year-old came up and said Kyle's hot, I would forget.
No, I was just wondering if 42 is young at this point. Like I don't know.
I think so. I think 42 is young.
It's not. But
so was the hottest of the three of you
on the podcast? Well, you had not yet been on the podcast. She didn't specify just those three. She said Kyle's the hottest one on the podcast. So we've had like Dan Fisher's on. Dan Fisher's pretty hot himself.
All right. You had Scott Wilson?
No, we have not.
We'll have to find her when we get Scott on. I know that answer's changing because Scott's got a tuchus, that kid.
He's got a certain je ne sais quoi.
Yes.
I don't know what that means.
It means football knowledge. Football
knowledge. That's right. Yeah.
All right, this is done. You got three.
Right.
Brad's got like 8 kids, and he's got to get to them.
Right.
Like they're
If
probably
three
setting
kids,
something
if three
up.
kids, they're quiet, but that's dangerous.
That's when you worry when they're quiet.
For sure. Yeah.
Greg, do you want to promote our show?
Oh, we're doing
Wednesday?
Comics Against Humanity Wednesday night. You're doing it, Kyle?
Yeah.
Come to Helium and see my favorite show to do. We're given 3 Cards Against Humanity cards, and we have to come up with sets on the spot. And it's the most fun I ever have, and that's this Wednesday.
Would I like it if I watched it?
I think so. You would, yes.
Right.
Especially
it's a fun time.
Especially since there's a good chance I'll fail. Like
who else is there?
Like 10 comics are there.
Really?
Kyle's there. I'm there.
Rick Matthews, past guest,
host it, and he's like the greatest host of Comics Against Humanity or Cards Against Humanity.
I love Helium, and I love the Buffalo comedy scene, and I love Rick.
Yeah,
you guys are okay. So
that makes sense.
I might be into that.
If you're a Patreon member of the show, sometimes there's free tickets. I can't promise you that it'll be for this show, but that does happen. So keep an eye out for that if you're a Patreon.
Also,
member,
tickets are like $5 or $10 if they're not free, and you're just looking to hang out with Greg. And if that hot girl is listening, that Greg or she called me hot.
Yeah, he didn't.
She can see Brad and decide
Greg,
like what.
I just realized Greg didn't specify her looks.
Yeah, she's gorgeous. She's a beautiful young woman, and more than that, she
likes
smart.
me. How great, you know?
Yeah, she can't.
Yeah, let's not worry about qualifying it. Let's just quantify. Either way, you're good.
Yeah,
you got the compliment. You got the hat.
Quantity over quality is my. Okay, we need to stop talking because I have to not do the podcast anymore. All right, thank you, Brad, for being on our show. You were great.
Thanks, Greg.
All right, so
thanks,
we'll talk
Kyle.
to you next
Brad.
week.
Piss off, Sean.
Yeah. Fuck Sean. Hate his face.
Yeah. Edit this.
Here, Sean. Here,
bitch.
I'm tapping, Sean. I'm tapping. You get to hear Dan Fisher sing about the Bills winning. So that's right. He's tapping. Like, all right, that's it. The Bills won.